At the top of a mountain, where the wind seemed to speak in ancient whispers and the pine trees bowed like wise elders in prayer, lived a young man named Ren. For years, Ren had sought enlightenment, traveling from temple to temple, collecting teachings, philosophies, and practices. His notebook was filled with notes, his thoughts overflowed with concepts, and his heart was full of fears he still couldn't understand. One day, after hearing of an old master named Daichi, Ren decided to climb to his secluded cabin, where it was said that silence was as thick as the morning mist. "Master Daichi," said Ren when he found him, "I have studied with the wisest teachers, I've read the sutras, I've meditated under rain and sun, but I still feel a void. What more must I learn?" The old man looked at him with a slight smile, like someone watching a bamboo shoot just before it begins to grow. He invited Ren to sit, and without a word, began to pour him some tea. Ren watched as the hot liquid filled the cup, until it started to overflow. "Master!" Ren exclaimed. "It's spilling over." Daichi didn't stop. He simply said, calmly, "Your mind is the same. You've filled your cup with ideas, beliefs, judgments, and fears. How do you expect to receive anything new if you don't empty it first?" Ren fell silent. For the first time, he didn't know what to say. And in that silence, something within him began to open. Ren lowered his gaze to the steaming cup. The spilled tea slid across the old wooden table, as if trying to remind him of something he had forgotten. "Empty the cup?" he murmured. Daichi nodded slowly, his eyes shining with the patience of one who has seen many seasons pass. "You didn't come here to fill your mind with more answers," the old man said. "You came to release what no longer serves you. Every belief you carry, every fear you hold like a shield, takes up the space where truth could grow." The wind blew gently, stirring the wind chimes that hung from the eaves. Their tinkling was soft, almost imperceptible, as if they, too, were trying to say something important. "And how do I empty my cup, master?" Ren asked. Daichi rose slowly, walked to the entrance of the cabin, and pointed toward the forest. "Walk without direction. Don't try to understand. Don't try to judge. Just observe. Let the mountain speak to you. When you return, perhaps you will no longer be the same." Ren stood, confused but curious. There was no formula, no technique. Only the forest, the present, and a cup that needed to be emptied of everything he thought he knew. Ren stepped into the forest with uncertain footsteps. Branches cracked beneath his feet, and the cool air smelled of damp earth and ancient leaves. Each tree seemed to watch him without judgment, as if its mere existence were enough to teach. For a while, Ren had no idea how long, he walked in silence. At first, his mind wouldn't stop. He thought about all the teachings he had received, about what he was supposed to feel, about whether he was doing it right. But little by little, without realizing it, something began to shift. The murmur of a stream made him stop. He sat on a nearby rock and watched the water flow between the stones. It didn't stop. It didn't hesitate. It didn't judge whether the path was narrow or wide. It simply flowed. And then, a voice within him, very soft, barely a whisper, rose in his chest. "The mind should be like water. Rincero los ojos. Penso en cuanto tiempo había pasado intentando comprender el mundo con pensamientos que no lo pertenecen. Había llenado su interior con el miedo de no ser suficient, con la necesidad constante de saber más, de ser más. Y por primera vez, sintió el deseo de solta. Solta la exigencia, solta el control, solta la necesidad de entenderlo todo. Como hojas cayendo en otoño, sus juicios empezaron a desprenderse, uno a uno, sin esfuerzo." The sun was gently descending through the treetops, painting the forest in golden hues. Ren remained seated, his heart calm, as if something within him had begun to settle, without the need for words. He recalled a teaching he had heard many times before, but now, for the first time, he truly felt it. When the mind is silent, the soul speaks. He didn't need answers, nor maps, nor explanations. It was enough just to be present. Ren stood up, lighter, as if the forest had lifted an invisible weight from him. He hadn't learned anything new, and yet, something inside him had transformed. As he returned to the cabin, he saw Master Daichi sitting by the door, calmly carving a branch with infinite patience. When he saw him, the old man smiled without surprise. "You've emptied your cup a little," he said. Ren nodded, and I realized that what took up most space in it were my fears. Daichi looked up, his gaze meeting Ren's like a river meeting the sky. "Judgments make you rigid. Fear makes you small. Only when you let go of both can you remember what you've always been." Ren felt the words were not a lesson, but a reflection of what he had already begun to understand. That night, Ren stayed by the fire, watching the flames dance without attachment, consuming the wood effortlessly and without resistance. Master Daichi didn't say much, but his presence was like a stillness that embraced everything. "Master," Ren said after a long silence, "how do I let go of what still hurts?" Daichi picked up a dry twig and tossed it into the fire. "By not holding onto it." Ren lowered his gaze. It was simple, but not easy. "And if it comes back," he said quietly, "what should I do?" The old man looked at him gently, as if he had heard that question 1,000 times in 1,000 hearts. "You see it. Don't push it away. Don't cling to it. Just see it, like a passing cloud, like a thought that is not you." In that moment, Ren understood that all he carried, his fears, his doubts, his judgments, were not enemies to be defeated. They were visitors, some loud, some sorrowful, but all of them just passing through. And he realized that it wasn't about emptying the cup just once, but about emptying it again and again, each day with love, with patience, with presence. The fire crackled, as if affirming that truth with its tongue of light. At dawn, Ren stepped out of the cabin with bare feet, feeling the dampness of the earth with each step. Every breath was clearer, as if there was less noise within him. He was not yet wise. He was not yet enlightened. But something fundamental had changed. He was no longer in a hurry. He sat beneath an old tree, whose roots seemed to embrace the world. He closed his eyes and simply breathed. Inhale, exhale. Each thought that arose he greeted like a traveler, without attachment, without rejection. An inner voice, now steadier, whispered to him, "You cannot fill a cup that is already full. Empty it of expectations. Empty it of the need to be someone." Ren understood that filling his cup with more knowledge was not the path. That every judgment he made, every fear he didn't face, took up space. And that emptying the cup was not about losing, but about opening. Opening to mystery, to the present, to what truly is. And in that empty, silent space, for the first time, he felt the presence of something he could not name. It wasn't an idea nor an emotion. It was simply being. As the days passed, Ren spent his time walking through the forest with a still mind, free of expectations. He watched the leaves fall, the wind sway the branches, the distant songs of birds, and he realized something profoundly liberating. He didn't need to understand everything. He didn't need to fill his mind with answers or carry the pressure of achieving something. He was already a part of everything he observed. Serenity was not something to seek outside. It arose from within when he stopped resisting. One day, while meditating by the stream, a cloud reflected on the clear water. Ren watched as the cloud slowly dissolved, fading into the air. It didn't fight the wind, nor did it cling to its form. Simply was for as long as it lasted. That is life, Ren thought. It flows, changes, but it's always here, in this moment. He no longer needed to cling to the fears he had carried for so long, nor to the expectations that had confined him. He no longer cared about understanding everything right away. He knew that, like the water in the stream, insight would come in its own time without being forced. The answer, he thought, was always the same: to empty oneself of all that is not essential, in order to be one with the flow of life. Ren returned to Daichi's temple as the evening fell, carrying a serenity he himself did not fully understand. He had walked far without direction, without goals. He had learned to empty his mind and allow what was essential to reveal itself. When he arrived at the cabin, Master Daichi was waiting in silence, as always. There were no words of welcome, only a deep gaze that spoke more than any speech ever could. Ren sat by the fire, no longer needing to ask questions, because he now knew that answers are never given. They are discovered. Daichi poured some tea into Ren's cup, this time with great calm, as if honoring the empty space now present in the young man's mind. "Your cup is empty, Ren," the master said, handing it to him. Ren held the cup in his hands, feeling its lightness. "And now," Daichi continued, "you can receive." Ren looked at the tea. He observed it with a peace he had never known before. It was no longer about understanding life or finding all the answers. It was about emptying himself of all that was unnecessary in order to live fully, without fear, without judgment, just being. And for the first time, Ren understood he didn't need to fill the cup. The emptiness was already his home,